Hi everyone, myself Maninderjeet Kaur, Assistant Professor in School of Pharmaceutical Sciences, RIMT University. Today I would like to speak on a topic, impurities in pharmaceutical substance. Before moving further, I will give you the outline of the chapter. In this presentation, I will cover the definition of the impurity, what are the sources of impurity, and the definition of the assays. In the other part, impurities commonly found in medicinal preparation, what are the impurities found in our medicinal preparation and their source, further their examples. Before moving further, I would like to give some introduction about what is the pure substance and what is the impure chemical compound. First of all, what is impurity or any compound, why we called it impure compound. A compound is said to be impure if it is having foreign matter, that is impurity. Any substance that contain any foreign matter like dirt, any microbial contamination, any metal parts, it contains if it contains in the sample, that the sample was impure. Next one is the pure chemical compound. A pure chemical compound refers to that compound which have no foreign matters, that is impurities. Pure in contrast to impure chemical compound, pure chemical compound is that compound which contains no foreign matter in it. Chemical purity means freedom from foreign matter. Basically, 100% analytically 100% pure substance are not available and traces of impurity must be present. No substance is 100% pure according to the science. Somewhat impurities are there in every substance. Normally, undesirable foreign materials are present in the pharmaceutical substance. Next, what is the impurity? Any material that affects the purity of the material of interest, means impurity is the undesired particle. Presence of impurities in the pharmaceutical substance may produce toxic effect on the body and may also lower down the active strength of the pharmaceutical substance. Next, impurities commonly found in chemical substance include small amounts of lead, arsenic, iron, chloride and sulfate. In chemical substance, there is a chemical impurities like lead, impurity may be of arsenic, it may be iron, chloride and it may be of sulfate. Next, what type of impurities present in the medicinal preparations and what is the effect of those impurities? Impurities which have toxic effect on the body and bring about unpleasant reactions when present beyond certain limits, example lead and arsenic salt. Number of salts are there which contains the lead and arsenic impurities that are considered to be toxic substance, or the impurity or the because of presence of these substances, that substances known as the toxic substance. The impurities which are able to make substance incompatible with other substance. The other effect of the impurities, it makes the substance incompatible with that of the other substance. Next, further, the impurities which if present beyond the limit affect the storage property of the pharmaceuticals. According to our Indian Pharmacopoeia, they prescribed a limit of the impurities, but if the impurities exceed the limit, it also affects the storage property of the substance. The impurities which are harmless, but if present beyond the limit, it will lower the active strength of the medicinal compound, example sodium salt in potassium salt. Next, the impurities which may bring about technical difficulties in the use of the substance. It may bring about the technical difficulties also, means it cause a problem in the storage, their preparation and their formulations. Impurities such as taste, odor, color or appearance which can be easily detected by the sense and make the substance unhygienic. For example, sodium chloride becomes damp because of the presence of traces of magnesium salt. In this impurity also affect the taste, their color, odor and appearance of the substance. Next is the sources of the impurities in pharmaceutical. What are the sources of the impurities in the pharmaceutical substances? There are a number of sources, various factors that affect the impurities of the substance. The type and the amount of impurity present in the chemicals of pharmaceutical substance depend upon several factors like those listed below. There is a number of factors. First one is the raw material used in the manufacturing. Second one is the reagent used in the manufacturing process, method or any process used in the manufacture or method of manufacturing. Next one is the chemical process used in the manufacturing, atmospheric contamination during the manufacturing process, intermediate products in the manufacturing process. Next one is the defects in the manufacturing process, manufacturing hazards, inadequate storage conditions, decomposition of the product during storage. Last one is the any accidental substitution or deliberate adulteration with spurious or useless material. In the next slide, we will explain it one by one. First one is the raw material implied in the manufacturing. If our raw material is impure, impurities known to be associated with these chemicals may be carried through the manufacturing process and contaminate the final product. For example, rock salt. Rock salt contains small amounts of calcium sulfate and magnesium chloride. Thus, the sodium chloride prepared from this source will contain traces of calcium and magnesium compound. Impurities such as arsenic, lead, and heavy metals are present in raw material, hence are found in substance. So, it is necessary to use pure chemicals and substance as a raw material for the manufacturing of the process. In the diagram, this is the rock salt. It contains the impurities of calcium sulfate and magnesium chloride. And then the next example is copper sulfate. It may be prepared by the action of sulfuric acid on copper turnings. Here is the reaction: copper, it reacts with 2H2SO4 means sulfuric acid. It will give copper sulfate, CuSO4 plus water molecule and sulfur dioxide. Copper turnings are known to have iron and arsenic as impurities. If large quantities of impurities are present in the raw material, for example copper turning, they may enter the final product. Due to this, IP prescribed limit of tolerance for arsenic as impurity to be not more than 8 ppm in copper sulfate. Similarly, it prescribes a limit of iron as an impurity. If we use copper turning as our starting material, as a raw material, it already contains the impurities like iron and arsenic. For this IP prescribed tolerance limit means arsenic contain minimum 8 ppm in the copper sulfate. Second one is the what are the reagent? We are using the reagent in the manufacturing process. Impurities due to reagents. If the reagents used in the manufacturing process are not completely removed by washing, these may find entry into the final products. For example, if we use ammoniated mercury, it may be prepared by adding a solution of mercury chloride, that is HgCl2, to dilute ammonia solution, means 2NH4OH ammonium hydroxide. It will combine to give ammoniated mercury, means precipitates of ammoniated mercury, that is NH2HgCl. The precipitates of ammoniated mercury, that is the final product, contains ammonium hydroxide. Thus, the precipitate is washed with cold water to remove the impurities of ammonium hydroxide. If it is not removed completely by washing with water, the final product may contain in it ammonium hydroxide as an impurity. Means we are using any substance. If we are not doing proper washing of the material, then impurities remain in the reagent. Third one is the method or process used in the manufacture. Any method or process we are using, that is also leads to the cause of impurity. Many drugs and chemicals, usually organic, are manufactured from different raw materials by using different methods or process. Some impurities are incorporated into the material during the manufacturing process. The type and the amount of impurity present in the drug or chemical varies. In certain drugs, a multi-step synthesis procedure is used which produce intermediate compound. The purification of intermediate is also important, otherwise the impurities present in the intermediate will get incorporated into the final product. Usually side reactions occur during the synthesis. Impurities of the product side reactions also occur in the substance. This may introduce new impurities due to contamination by reagents and solvents at various stages of the process as described below. Means if we using the wrong method or we can use the wrong process, then it is also one of the cause of the impurities. Next one is the solvent. Water is the cheapest solvent available and has been used wherever possible. The most abundant and the most cheapest solvent is water. We can use anywhere in the lab. We can use as a solvent in any reaction. There are a number of waters are there. First one is the tap water. It has calcium, magnesium, sodium, chloride, sulfate and carbonate as the impurities in the small amounts. Next one is a softened water. It is obtained by allowing the tap water to pass through the sodium form of a zeolite, which removes divalent cations like calcium and magnesium from tap water in exchange of sodium. So softened water contains sodium chloride ions as a impurity. Next one is the demineralized water. It is obtained by passing tap water through columns packed with an ion exchange reagents that is showing in the picture. There is a vessel in the picture in which reactive reagents are there that absorb the impurities, and in the bottom there is a input of the water, okay, which is clear. The water obtained from this process is free from calcium, magnesium, sodium, chloride, sulfate and carbonate. Thus the final product is free from these impurities. Last one, the water obtained from this source may still contain organic impurities, and so final product contains organic impurities. Distilled water, it is considered the best, but it is very costly. Means if we use any solvent, that solvent contains some impurities. Here we taken the example of water. Water also contains some impurities like calcium, magnesium and sodium and chlorides. Next one is a reagent implied in the manufacturing process. Soluble alkali in calcium carbonate arise from sodium carbonate used in the process. Any reagent we are used, the impurities due to reagents. Calcium carbonate is obtained by interaction of a soluble calcium salt and soluble carbonate. Therefore, the product will contain traces of soluble alkali, which the washing process has been failed to remove. Second one is the reagent added to remove other impurities. Potassium bromide contains traces of barium, which added in the manufacturing process to remove the excess of sulfate. Next one is the action of solvent and reagent on the reaction vessel. In this, the impurity due to the reaction vessel, which type of reaction or the reaction we are using, vessel we are using for the reaction, what type of metal we are using for the vessel. During manufacturing process, some of the solvents and reagents may undergo reaction with the metal or metals of reaction vessel and may dissolve these metals, which appear as the impurities in the final product. For example, we use the iron vessel, some compound that are contaminated with the iron, means that contain the impurities of the iron. Example, iron is known to contain arsenic impurity. The inorganic compounds manufacturing in the iron vessel will contain arsenic and iron as impurities. Thus, IP has prescribed limit tests for arsenic and for iron for most of the inorganic compounds. Next one is the impurities due to chemical process used in the manufacturing, means any process we are using for the synthesis. For the synthesis of drug, many chemical reactions such as nitration, halogenation, oxidation, reduction, hydrolysis are involved. In these chemical process, different chemicals are used. The impurities comes due to their chemicals that comes under the category of chemical process used in the manufacturing. Tap water is generally used in the various process, and it is often having chloride, magnesium, calcium ions, which are generally found in the substance which is being manufactured. Next one is the atmospheric contamination during the manufacturing process, means contamination or impurities due to atmosphere, means any contamination due to any gases like hydrogen sulfide, sulfur, any black smoke. In the industrial areas, the atmosphere is contaminated with the dust particle and some gases like hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide and black smoke. During the manufacturing or purification of the pharmaceutical products, these impurities enters the final product. There are many pharmaceutical products which when manufactured are contaminated with atmospheric carbon dioxide and water vapor. Example, sodium hydroxide absorb atmospheric carbon dioxide. Means two molecules of sodium hydroxide react with carbon dioxide, it will get converted into the carbonate ions, means sodium carbonate plus water. Due to this reaction, sodium hydroxide should not be kept open for a longer time during its manufacturing. Therefore, IP has prescribed that sodium hydroxide should not contain more than 3% of the sodium carbonate. Next one is the defects in manufacturing process. In many manufacturing process, there are defects like imperfect mixing, incompleteness, non-adherence to the proper temperature, pressure, pH or reaction condition, which may give chemical compounds with impurities in them. Examples: zinc oxide may be prepared by heating metallic zinc to bright redness in a current of air. The vapor of zinc burned to form zinc oxide, which is collected as a fine white powder. But if there is a less heat or air or both, zinc metal is not completely converted into zinc oxide. Thus, the final product zinc oxide may still contain metallic zinc as an impurity. So, IP has prescribed a test for zinc metal in zinc oxide. This is the defects in the manufacturing process. Defects due to their imperfect mixing, their defect in the formulation, and defect may be any temperature, maybe pressure or any pH reactions. Next one is the intermediate products in the manufacturing process. There are some intermediate which are produced during the manufacturing process. Sometimes these intermediates may be carried through to the final product as a impurity. Example: potassium iodide is prepared by reacting iodine with potassium. In this reaction, we take potassium hydroxide, it reacts with iodine, it will give potassium iodide, potassium iodate and 3 molecules of water. The resulting solution is first evaporated and then heated with charcoal. In this process, if the intermediate product is not completely converted into potassium iodide, then it may carry through to the final product as a impurity. Means impurity due to intermediate product, means proper washing of the intermediate product is not there, or any means intermediate product is not properly converted into the final product. Next one is the manufacturing hazards. Any particulate contamination, process error, it may be cross contamination, it may be microbial contamination, or it may be packaging errors. First is the particulate contamination. The presence of unwanted particulate matter can arise due to dirt, dust, glass, porcelain or plastic fragment from sieves, granulating or tableting machines, or from product containers. Improperly cleaned equipment may also cause particulate contamination. Clarity of solution for injection is particularly important. Example: metal particles which have been found in eye ointment packed in a metal tube. Here is the example. We take the example of terramycin. Any defect due to contamination in the particle. It may be contamination in the metal tube, contamination of maybe with the metal particle, with sieves or any other granulating tableting. Next one is the process error. Gross error arising from incomplete solution of a solute in a liquid preparation must be detected readily by a normal analytical control procedure. The impurity due to any processing error. Next one is the cross contamination. As the name indicates, it may be the contamination due to any cross verification. The handling of powders, granules and tablets in large bulk create airborne dust, which leads to cross contamination of the product. So, face mask and special extraction equipment are used to protect operators from harmful effect of drugs. Example: penicillin preparation requires special handling during its manufacturing. Here this is the diagram that explains the cross contamination. Contaminate from environment operator, or maybe it contaminate from equipment. Next is the cross contamination. Cross contamination due to product that from environment operated, or it may be from iron equipments. Next one is the microbial contamination. As the name indicates, contamination due to any microbes. Parenteral preparations and ophthalmic preparations require special care against microbial contamination. Many liquid preparations and creams are liable to bacterial and fungal contamination, so care should be taken. Number of parenteral and ophthalmic preparation in which we can use the sterile products. in this there is a number of chances of microbial contaminations are there in the parental and ophthalmic preparations. So this comes under the category of microbial contamination. Example is acacia, senna, tragacanth. They should be controlled for salmonella. Last one is the contamination may be packaging error. Products of similar appearance such as tablets of same size, shape, color packed in similar containers can constitute a potential source of danger. Improper labeling or destruction of stock of unused labels also constitute a major packaging hazard. Packaging error may be the impurities due to their packaging, it may be improper labeling. Next one is the impurities due to storage conditions. The chemical substance which, when prepared have to be stored in different types of containers depending upon the which type of the nature of the material which we are using to store the substance, batch size, what are the quantity of the substance. Many types of material are used for storage purpose like plastic, polythene, iron, vessels, stainless steel and aluminium. Number of material of containers are used for the storage purpose. Means reaction of these substance with the material of storage vessel, the product formed are found as impurities in the stored material. Leaching out effect. Alkalis stored in ordinary glass container extract lead from it, which is found as impurity in the final product. If we store the alkali compounds in the lead container, then it contains some traces of the lead, which is also one cause of the impurity. That effect is known as the leaching out effect. Strong chemicals react with iron containers and extract iron and impurity in the final product. Next is the impurities due to inadequate storage. Fifth, stored product may become contaminated with dust, bodies of insect, animal and insect, etc. Second one is the any chemical instability are there in the compounds. Decomposition because of light, traces of acid or alkalis, air oxidation, water vapor, carbon dioxide and traces of metallic ions. For example, light sensitive material should be stored in amber colored bottle. In our books always prescribed that is a light sensitive material, the material that is deteriorate in the presence of light, that should be stored in the amber color bottle or that should be stored in the brown colored bottle. Next one is the reactions with container material. Example, salicylic acid ointment must not be stored in the metal tube. Next is the physical change. The occurrence of changes in physical form of a drug like change in the crystal size can lead to change in the efficiency of the product. Means any changes in the physical structure of the drug also lead to the impure compounds. Next one is a temperature effect. Chemical and physical changes occur if materials are not stored at a proper temperature. Temperature is also effect on the storage condition. It also may be one cause of the deterioration of the product. Next one is the decomposition of the product during storage. Chemical decomposition analysis or breakdown is the separation of a chemical compound into element or simpler compound. It is sometimes defined as the exact opposite of a chemical synthesis. Chemical decomposition is often an undesired chemical reaction. Decomposition are there. It may be chemical decomposition, it may be mechanical decomposition are there in the chemicals due to their storage conditions. Some substance decompose on storing due to presence of air, light and oxygen, so the final product is contaminated. In this diagram we show the pellets of sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide comes under the category of deliquescent substance. For example, if we for this reason containers of sodium hydroxide should always be tightly stoppered. If we lose the solution, if we lose that stopper of the sodium hydroxide, it is deliquescent, it absorbs the moisture from the air and it will convert into a liquid form. Next one is a accidental substitution or deliberate adulteration with spurious or useless material. Any adulteration in the material are there, it is possible to avoid accidental substitution by storing the toxic substance together separately or in a locked cupboard. Many pharmaceutical chemicals are adulterated with cheaper substance. Example, the expensive potassium may be adulterated with sodium bromide. In the last, we can say that the impurities are there in the substance, but to remove the impurities, there are a number of tests are there in the IP. So we can further the Indian Pharmacopoeia rules. There is a every limit in the in the impurity session. So we can follow that. Thank you.